I was in high school, I think personally I had this tremendous desire to prove myself, to prove my worth, and to show everyone that I could, you know, play varsity, play with the big boys, that I was worthy and I had merit to be successful, to be, you know, worthy in the eyes of my peers. I was looking for their esteem, to prove myself to my parents and my family that I was a good son. I guess in college is where I felt even less of having a purpose or a direction in my life until the very end. I just didn't know where I fit in. I took advantage of the social scene and drinking and dabbled a little bit in drugs, and anything I could do that was bad behavior that I hadn't had a chance to do before, you know, I took a shot at it, but it never really satisfied in a way that was lasting, and always left me, you know, hungry for more and searching out new adventures, and never really brought me any sense of fulfillment. So when I was in college, I guess I felt the calling to be an attorney. I had worked tirelessly and done everything that I knew how to do to set myself up for a good life. I excelled in my legal studies in every way that I could possibly excel with my skills and abilities, tried to distinguish myself. I got out into the workforce and got a job at a law firm after doing some other things first. And when I got that job, I was so proud to finally be a practicing lawyer. Here I was practicing my craft, and I made it my job to outshine everybody that I possibly could that was my peer. But I took a chance to even move more all in than I already was with my legal career, and made a move in the midst of the beginning of this recession to another firm, thinking the grass would be greener somewhere else. There had to be a way to navigate this if I was smart enough and made the right moves and the right decisions. So I went to this new firm and completely got the rug pulled out from under me, because it was not a place that I fit in. They didn't have the same values that I had at that firm, and they were not reacting well to the crisis that was going on in the economy. I found myself compromising more than I ever had in the past, to a point where I wasn't comfortable with what I was being called upon to do anymore. And the integrity that I held myself to was inconsistent with the type of value structure in the environment that I was in. I didn't know where else to go or what else to do. And it really came to a head when one day at about 8 o'clock in the morning, they called me in and said, listen, you're in our corporate department and there's no corporate work, and we've made the decision to let you go. So while I was trying to help my dad with this foreclosure case, which was something I knew nothing about, I started searching for answers to what I was going to do with my life. And I started reading the Gospels. I have no idea what it was that prompted me to do that. It seemed like at that point in my life, a lot of people were saying, it's just the gospel message is, and I would hear people say stuff about the gospel message. I was actually started going to a church where the pastor talked about the gospel message. And I thought, I don't really know what that message is. I really don't understand what that's all about. So over the course of a weekend, I read through the entire gospel, really trying to figure out what I was going to do to look for a job, or what I was going to do personally to try to put my life on a better course. I was questioning, did I do something to deserve this? But I didn't think that I was a bad person. I thought I was a good person. I thought that I had the best of intentions, and I had worked hard and I deserved certain things. I didn't think at that time that anything that I was doing in my life was really that terrible. I think it would be hard for anyone, especially somebody who has read a lot, to read the gospel and not have this overwhelming sense in the back of their mind, this is the truth. But then you get an uneasy feeling when you're reading it for the first time, because you say, well, if this rings true, what I'm being asked to do here is really difficult. I'm being asked to take all of the control for my life and give it up. I'm being asked to be a servant to a master that I can't see. And the asking price for being a Christian was give everything. So the thing that struck me the hardest when I was reading through the gospel was you either had to accept the entirety of what Jesus was saying or none of it. It didn't really make sense. I had never understood this until that moment, but it didn't make sense to pick and choose what you wanted to believe out of what he said. He didn't leave that opportunity available to you. And every time that I had the chance to relinquish control, I wanted to do it my way. So I was rebellious against God, like from high school till the moment I really, in a moment of just being completely at my lowest point, turning to the Gospels and actually receiving what it had to say, I was just constantly rebelling. I believe all of this. So if that's the case, the terrifying thing is I have to accept Jesus as my personal Savior and hand over all of my control, and I have to obey what I'm asked to do no matter what it is. So I was not at all comfortable with doing that, and I was I remember my heart was beating. I didn't know if I was going to be able to afford to keep my apartment. I didn't know if I was going to get another job. I didn't know which way to turn. I didn't see any good options. And I just said, I'm not going to make that decision anymore. I'm going to try a different way. And that's when I prayed to God and I asked Jesus to take over from here on out. So at a certain point I called Luke up and I said, I think I need to take the next step in my faith and make it public that I'm a Christian and get baptized. And that only happened a little bit over a year ago. I think that up until that point I had practiced my faith very consistently. And I was very open with others about what I believed and trying to suggest to them that they should take a look at this too. But I became a lot more vocal, after I got baptized. Right about the time when I first was saved, when I first made the decision to follow Christ, I was in a position where I didn't know what my career held, and so I started taking cases on my own. And actually that same weekend I formed my own law firm. One thing, I guess, I'm not a father, but I do have a staff of people that work with me and for me. When you see some of the things that are your bad habits and your sinful nature in other people and realize that some of it is because they're modeling you, that's tough to take. So my law firm has grown tremendously in a few short years, from just a couple of guys with some fold-up tables to a real functioning law office that when you look out at the people that you're charged to be a leader for and see them faltering because of things that you're doing wrong or things that you're struggling with, it really reflects back to and makes you see the part of your nature that is really sinful. To me, it's always when I see other people, I want to be a better example. And so more and more I am constantly asking myself every day, am I living in accordance with the values that I profess and believe? And would somebody see the evidence of my faith in my character? As a follower of Christ first and lawyer second, I came to understand something about God's character and this common thread in all of our journeys that changed the way that I approached what I do for a living. I thought the purpose of life was to achieve. I thought the purpose of life was to leave a good record of accomplishments. I thought you could buy your way into heaven through good works. And what I've come to find out is that I, on my own merits, could never be approved of by God. I could never stand toe-to-toe with Him. I can't do those things on my own. So the purpose of life is to follow Jesus Christ's example. It's to be on God's team. It's to actually live the principles that the Bible teaches.